Please. Okay, softly as in a morning sunrise, we're working on walking bass lines, and we're just going to break this sucker down. You can apply this lesson in a bass line to any walking bass line, okay? So let's first just review. The chords for the A section in Softly as a Morning Sunrise are 1, 6, 2, 5, 1. I'm in C minor, by the way, for those of you keeping score. Cool. Now what I'm going to do with my left hand is I'm going to add a passing tone. And the rule for me is simple. I can either approach the bass note from a half step above or a half step below. Okay? That's the basic rule. Watch me go to the 6th chord. Okay? Or dig it one more time. Or from the top down. Love it. Now what we're going to do
Sorry, what's the top down? What did you do from the top down?
So a half step above the note. That's what we mean by top down. Underneath, approach from underneath. Again, this is all just that classical. We're just using all of our... It's a good thing we didn't fall asleep in our classical music theory class that we had to take an intro to music, right? Because they taught us all this. So fortunately, we still have it back in the file cabinet, right? But check it out. Here's an upper neighbor. Right, when we go, that's approaching the note from up above it. Or you can approach it from below it. And then you oftentimes hear a combination of both. Right? So that's coming from below, coming from above. And the beautiful thing is we use this in our jazz bass lines all the time. Let's watch that. Now what I'm going to do is I've gone from the 1 chord down to the 6th chord. And by the way, these are quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, right? Now I need to approach my 2 chord. So again, I can approach it from a half step below or a half step above. Dig it? So watch this. Aha. Or let me approach that 2 chord from a half step above. Got it? So one more time, let me slow that sucker down. I'm on my 1 chord. Okay, got to my 6th chord. Got to my 2 chord. So I went half step above the 6. Half step above the 2. Dig it? Now I'm going to use the exact same rule to get to my 5 chord. I'm going to go half step above the 5 chord. And why is that so strong? That's just a really strong motion for bass lines. A half step above it. Falling down. Falling down. So it works for us, right? Our ear accepts that. Got it? To get back to the 1. So I'm going to do a half step from above every single bass note and just listen to what it sounds like. Now, when you use that pattern over and over and over, it can get a little predictable and kind of a bummer to our ear. And we know, like Ron Carter University definitely didn't do that. RCU did not do the same pattern over and over again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mix it up from a half step above to a half step below, half step above, half step below. Dig it? So now I'm just swapping out. I'm starting with upper neighbor, lower neighbor, upper neighbor, lower neighbor. Got it? So watch that. Sounds a little bit better, right? You're like, your ear's like, okay. If I add the chords, now, dig it, the final reveal is what we're working on is how to play a melody along with the walking bass line. So let me just show one more thing here before we go to adding that melody of softly. Remember that the rhythm, because remember, we're always thinking melody, harmony, and rhythm, right? In addition to song form, right? So some sort of songwriting fluency. So all three fluencies, keep them in mind, right? Otherwise, what happens is we turn into a robot where we memorize patterns, but we're not actually flexing this thing, right? We're not getting like that musical mind expanding. So what's the melody? The melody are these rules we just went over, right? The upper neighbor, lower neighbor. Those are all melodic choices you're making. What's the harmony? Well, we know the harmony. We've been working hard on the harmony. It's a 1 chord to a 6 chord to a 2 chord to a 5 chord. So we've got melodic choices we're making. We've got the harmony that we're baking in there. And then finally, there's the rhythm. And so the rhythm is really straightforward, but it really is important to keep this in mind because otherwise we can kind of get confused when we add the right hand, right? This is straight quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It's a straight down a pike. It's 4 quarter notes in a row, every single measure, which makes it easier when we start adding the right hand to know when we play with it versus in between it. Right? And the whole thing, oh! Got it. There it is. So walking bass lines.
That sounds absolutely fantastic.
Pretty sweet, right? Not too complicated, is it?
I mean,